Elite Dangerous is a game about blazing your own trail, but unless you are aware of the paths and options in front of you as a player, or where those paths and options might lead, it's very difficult as a new player to understand that you might need to even make those choices in the first place, and many players are left not knowing what to do, and then leave the game never to return. As things stand, Elite Dangerous has an onboarding problem, and not addressing that problem adequately has serious consequences for securing the game's future longevity. In his interview with Lave Radio last week, FDev's departing head of community PR and comms, Arthur Tolmie, was asked if there was anything in Elite he wished he could change. The onboarding of new players was his answer. Even having built a love of Elite as a franchise through the 80s and 90s, he tried and failed to start playing Elite Dangerous 3 times before finally understanding where to go and what to do next, and only then did the game get its teeth into him. He would later join Frontier Developments as a community manager specifically because he wanted to work on Elite Dangerous. Wind the clock back to this year's February instalment of Frontier Unlocked, when Arthur sat down with FDev's Senior Director of Projects, Piers Jackson, to give the company's first look broad strokes overview of what they see Vanguards being. In the interview, Piers clearly states that they partly see Vanguards as a mechanism for onboarding new players to the game, and this is an important key point. As things stand, Elite itself provides almost no tools for effective player-to-player communication, and what tools there are rather obtuse, transitory or difficult to find at best. Currently, when joining most squadrons in the game, you likely need to be using and very familiar with third-party communication tools such as Discord. Right now, for example, there's no effective mechanism in the game for explaining what activities your squadron may be engaged in or focused on, or for what reason. Aside from a quickly scrolling squadron chat window that you have to access with a text command, there's no other easily accessible infrastructure. Without tools like Discord etc, a huge amount of the Elite Dangerous player base would also likely not know that the BGS system even exists, for example. It's not specifically mentioned in the game itself or in its tutorials. If, as a new player, you manage to get through the somewhat bare bones tutorials the game offers, and you then find yourself invested enough to feel that squadron membership might be the next step for you, there's nothing in the game that can easily facilitate you getting help from your new squad mates in the next part of your journey. In last month's Frontier Unlocked livestream, FDev released their first significant details of their plans surrounding the Squadron system revamp that is arriving later in the summer. Whilst the Vanguards deep dive livestream devoted the vast majority of its time to showing off the reworked UI elements that surround the creation of a squadron, there was however one screen that showed what we think is likely to be one of the key elements to the importance of Vanguards over and above its headlining new features like the carrier and shared bank, and that feature is communication. On the squadron's internal homepage, FDev's work in progress mock-up of which you can see on screen now, there is an area on the right that contains 2 tabs specifically reserved for internal squadron communication. One tab shows the squadron feed, which in the current version of the system shows events and occurrences around squadron member activity. The other tab is for a bulletin board style messaging system, and there is also a dedicated button to open squadron chat. It shows the thinking behind where FDev believes some of the problems in squadrons as it sits currently exist, and given the comments made by Piers, how it affects newer players specifically. In a live service game where the game's very existence relies on new players coming in to replace those that may have left, if the opening plays of the game present an impenetrable shell with no obvious path forward, then it's a serious problem. In the case of Elite Dangerous, this is often referred to as its learning cliff. Long established games such as World of Warcraft, to use one example, have, in fact, similar but slightly more clearly defined open world philosophies to their gameplay, but in their opening sessions they will railroad the player into a quest that teaches them how to play on a basic level, and then, having done that quest, the game will offer another similar quest to underline what it just taught you. This system continues until the game has layered more and more quests and more of its mechanics on you, at the same time delivering story and world building elements, until the player is fully invested and knows how to navigate and interact with the world enough to make their own choices and explore outside the confines of what the game has shown them. Importantly, all the while those players are on those early quests in WoW, they are within the existing game world and are making progress with their character, gaining new in-game skills, items and weapons they can use. In using Warcraft to talk about this issue, I'm not suggesting that Elite Dangerous should become a more structured quest based experience overall, but there is value to that approach when it comes to bringing new players into the game, and Elite could benefit greatly from a similar approach in its opening moments in a dangerous galaxy before finally releasing its new intakes into the void to find their own way once they'd learnt to navigate the game. Elite tutorials, such as they are, tend to exist outside of the regular game environment and, as is the case with the on foot tutorial, allow the player to use tools and weapons that are then immediately taken away with no explanation once the game starts properly. As an on foot commander starting the game, you will have just a basic flight suit, so no armour, and a small level 1 pistol. In any combat situation, you'll already be facing NPCs with rifles, armour and personal shields, and the game won't tell you this or show you how that situation can be improved. You can run the on foot and in ship tutorials as much as you like. The in ship ones are in the right hand menu, but to access the on foot ones you need to leave the game to the main menu and then head to the training section from there. Even when in the training section, the video tutorials on offer are 10 years old, and in the case of the power play tutorial for example, completely non-existent. As a new player, Elite Dangerous essentially shows you the keys you need to use and then says, OK, now go and play Elite Dangerous, without showing you how to play Elite Dangerous. Given how impenetrably deep we know the game to be, I'd be very curious to see the new purchase player retention rate. I suspect it could be significantly improved. From the comments made by Piers when talking about Vanguards and in the aforementioned interview with Arthur, it does sound like Frontier are aware of the problem, and I'm inclined to believe that they're in the process of doing something about it. With the recent history of updates to Elite Dangerous, you can draw a line through revisiting older systems and revamping their underlying mechanics to make them better and more accessible. Power play and engineering are the most obvious big hitters that spring to mind, and now of course we're also seeing Squadrons get a much needed workover whilst simultaneously keeping an eye on player retention and onboarding. An argument could also be levelled at the Squadron fleet carrier also being a system that is being revisited, with that system's original design intentions now being implemented. I'd argue there's also a similar discussion to be had around the philosophy of the new wave of ships entering the game as well. With their arrival and the implementation of Supercruise overcharge, gone are the days of unnecessarily long Supercruise journeys, gas giant transitions, or, my personal favourite, I'll just go and make a cup of tea while I let the ship get out of this high G gravity well. Having updated their core systems and made the existing game just generally friendlier and a better experience to the existing player base, FDev would be in a better position to catch new players when they do enter the game. But in order to catch those new players, it is, in my opinion, absolutely crucial that they're onboarded and taught the game and how to read the universe they find themselves in far better than they are at the moment. If a more in-universe, lead your newbies by the nose onboarding approach was implemented in the game, FDev would then, and in my opinion only then, be in a position to move the universe forward, introducing the next big bad plot element to the storyline and start the slow journey again toward whatever crescendo point they might want to hit. Imagine all the hype and noise that the first arrival of the Thargoids created 10 or so years ago, but new players attracted by that noise are able to participate on some meaningful level, having first been shown the ropes by the game itself. As an experienced player, I would of course always like to see new and more interesting features added that are aimed at me personally. I would love to see more content and better in-game systems for exploration, better use of procedural generation, more things to discover and more tools to discover them with. There is a whole video I could create on how, in an ideal world, I'd like to see on-foot gunplay completely revamped to bring it more in line with tactical stealth shooters, whilst also making on-foot conflict zone engagements more logical with better use of vehicles with the available planet scale real estate. But as a long-term fan of this beautiful game, I want it to have decades of life ahead of it, and if that means that the content update at the end of this year is a new robust and exciting onboarding tutorial system and philosophy for the game going forward, then I'm okay with that as well. How were your first experiences when joining Elite Dangerous? Do you play in a squadron already, and has that aided your gameplay? And what else do you think FDev could do to improve the new player experience? Let us know in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this video, remember to subscribe to the channel so that you see all our videos and community posts, and if you'd like to support our work here at the Burr Pit, you can also join us on Patreon. Links to that and everything else we've talked about in this video you'll find linked below. That's it for now. Thanks very much for watching. We very much look forward to seeing you next time.